let's first understand the problem that we are facing here, and then we will find out the root cause of the problem. And once root cause is known, we have identified problem, then we'll go ahead and fix that. So what problem exactly we are facing here? So whenever we try to access DMG web server from external PC, any PC connected to outside network, right, with the NAT IP address, then DMG server is not accessible, inaccessible. So NAT IP address here is 172.16.1.109, right, from the external network range. NAT IP address is from the external IP subnet range. So whenever we try to access DMG web server with NAT IP, not the real IP address, so we are unable to access server, web server, right? Page cannot be found, error message is displayed here. When we look at the log, traffic log, right, then also there is no traffic log generated, means we don't find any traffic log, even though there is a proper static NAT rule created. Security policy also exists here, right, but still there is no traffic log. So how we can investigate the problem, how we can find out the issue, the reason why we are unable to access DMG web server from external machine whenever we create manual static NAT rule, right? Problem is with only manual static NAT rule or NAT policy, one-to-one NAT, right? And it's a distributed deployment, right? Checkpoint management server and checkpoint security gateway, both like running on two different virtual platforms. And I hope you understand distributed installation or distributed deployment means management server and security gateway, they both are not running on the same platform. So whenever we use different hardware or virtual platforms, one for management server, another for security gateway, that is distributed deployment. And there is proper security, secure internal communication SIC between SMS and SG. So there is no problem with that, because we are able to push policy from admin servers to the security gateway. Even there is no issue with other traffic. So whenever we are initiating traffic outside from LAN interface, there is no problem, right? So problem is only with the DMG server access, like DMG web server is inaccessible from outside, right? That is the problem. And I hope you understand lab diagram also. ETS2 is external interface, connects to external router, is router to provide internet connectivity. ETS0 is basically management interface. There is one smart console or admin PC management server. ETS1 is like LAN side internal network, and ETS3 DMG, demilitarized zone, right, connected to a DMG web server. And DMG web server here means Windows server machine. Windows server has IIS role installed and demo website is already hosted. So we are not going to do like website hosting and all that, already done. Even we are able to access DMG web server with the same NAT IP, that is 172.1.109, whenever we change NAT policy or NAT rule from static manual to static auto, right, automatic generated rule. So whenever NAT rule is generated automatically, there is no issue, there is no problem. But whenever we create manual static NAT rule, then there is a problem, right? So that's what like we want to rectify, we want to resolve here. So what I'm going to do, first I'm going to show you like what exactly error messages we are getting, right, whenever we try to access DMG web server. I will show you existing NAT policy and security policy, right, and then I will explain reason like why we are unable to access DMG web server. If like there is proper NAT rule, there is proper security policy, there is no issue with the edge router even, right, and then I will practically show you like how we can fix that issue. So first thing first like I'm going to show you a problem and the existing configuration, right. I will open like dashboard, checkpoint dashboard, from where we manage security rules, NAT rules, and other policies. Okay. So 122.16.1.109 is basically NAT IP address, and you can see here this site cannot be reached. So 1.0 is a NAT IP, and there is a static NAT policy or NAT rule already created, and static NAT rule is to perform destination NAT, means translating destination IP from 172.16.1.109 to DMG web server IP. So DMG web server real IP is 172.16.0.2, right? And 109 is NAT IP, virtual IP, basically not assigned to firewall interface, because firewall interface IP is 172.16.1.101, right? NAT IP is, other than that, basically not assigned to any interface, not anywhere. And if I just quickly show you NAT and security policy, so let me start with the NAT policy first. So if you look at the NAT policy, right? So here, like original source any, original destination NAT IP, and service is HTTP. So basically first like section is matching criteria or original packet section, right? When to do NAT, right? So if the source IP is any, destination IP is NAT IP, virtual IP, service is HTTP, then do what? Translate destination, right? Source original, but what about the destination is translated. So destination IP is translated, and here you can see S means static, and static IP. So if I just show you property of this object, then you will see here original IP address, real IP address of DMG web server 172.16.0.2, right? So destination IP address is translated to 172.16.0.2, service translation original, right? So we can see like there is manual static NAT rule. What about security policy? Because there should be corresponding security rule to permit to allow incoming HTTP traffic. Let me open this. Okay, and if you look at rule number 5, so source any, destination NAT IP, and the service is HTTP, then action accept, right? So I can see here action is accept. And is there any log? Let's see, last an hour. As so, there is no security log here, right? With rule number 5, rule number 5 is selected, and for last an hour there is no matches found for your search, right? Even continuously we are trying to access DMG web server, we are hitting like connection to this 109 IP address, but still there is no log here, right? We are unable to access web server. Let me do one thing first before just I explain reason, right, why it is so and how we can fix that. Get rid of manual NAT rule, deleted now, right? I'm deleting manual static NAT rule, and if I select object, network object, host object, and the DMG server object, edit, right? So this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to enable static NAT but automatic address translation rule, static but automatic, and translate to 172.16.1.109, right? Means translating one-to-one translation, translating 172.16.0.2 to this IP, and this is static, right? Alright, hit down OK, and now I'm going to install policy. Click install policy, publish and install, and which policy package? Standard policy package, policy target, so SG01, right? because here like there are two more like security gateways in a cluster, but we are not interested in that. All good. Install policy. Install. Alright, so policy installation successful. So again I am trying to access web server, and now you can see here there is no problem, right? Server DMG web server is accessible. So destination IP address successfully translated to DMG server IP address, no issue, right? And can we now see any log? And you can see here a log message, right, today. So now I can see log message access rule number 5, and even we can further check like translation, destination translated successfully. So destination IP address is translated 109 translated to 172.16.0.2. There is no issue. But whenever we create manual rule, edit, uncheck, OK. Now I am going to create NAT rule manually, right? So we can create NAT rule manual, just you can give any name, manual static NAT rule, source any, destination NAT IP, that is NAT IP here, service. And now you can see here whenever we create manual NAT rule, then even we can also do like service translation. Even service can be used as a matching criteria, right? Service and also destination, whereas automatic generated NAT rule means we cannot select service over there. So what to do? Translation, source, original, whatever destination. Yes, I want like destination to be translated to DMG web server real IP address. Here we have, and service original. Install policy, right? So what I have done, I have deleted automatic NAT rule or automatic generated NAT rule, right, and created a manual NAT policy. Nothing else, right? Only changing NAT rule, NAT policy from automatic to manual, right? And then after let this policy be installed successfully, and before, let me policy installation is still in progress. Let me delete ARP table, also cache table. So better if I open in incognito window and 172.16.1.109, right? And see here, no luck, we are unable to access DMG web server. So very specific use case in checkpoint, in fact. So whenever we do manual static NAT policy configuration and NAT IP address is not assigned to a gateway interface, then here is the problem. This site cannot do this. But what is the problem? So let me first explain the problem, and then I will show you like how we can identify, how we can fix. But first let me give you proper explanation of the problem, and then I will show you how we can jump to the conclusion like yes, problem is because of this reason, and how we can solve that, how we can rectify that issue. So in order to understand the problem, let's first understand networking basic concept, right? So let us assume there is a host device here, right? and host device wants to send a packet to the gateway so that destination that is in different network can be reached. So what happens then? Host device generally sends our broadcast message to obtain the MAC address of gateway, right? Who is 10.0.0.1, tell your MAC, and once like MAC address is obtained from the gateway, then packet is encapsulated. So in case of TCP packet like IP TCP, packet is further encapsulated inside Ethernet header, layer 2 header, right? Layer 2, and layer 2 header means source MAC, destination MAC, and ether type field, right? So destination MAC means gateway MAC address, not the basically destination, not the destination, not the server. So here is the server is the destination. So basically destination MAC means gateway MAC address, next of device layer 2 of MAC address, and of course like for error checking, frame check sequence, right? So ARP request is sent here and gateway will respond with the ARP reply means interface MAC address, because ARP message means like asking who is 10.0.0.1 till like MAC, what is your MAC address, right? In checkpoint also, here if there is a network device and security gateway, right? So in case of any packet that need to be sent to the gateway, so packet is never sent without encapsulation, right? Packet is always encapsulated. So even in case of TCP SYN packet, the very first packet, because we understand HTTP runs on top of TCP, right? On top of TCP means like first TCP three-way handshake. Once TCP connection is successfully established, then on top of that HTTP messages direction. So let us assume R1 wants to send a TCP packet, TCP SYN message to the security gateway, checkpoint gateway, right? So as I said before, packet need to be encapsulated inside Ethernet header. There should be Ethernet header, outermost header, and Ethernet header means source MAC, destination MAC, plus ether type field, right? A code basically to define like which upper layer protocol is being used, like network layer protocol, I mean, right? A code here for this IP and error checking. So source MAC, we know like sender MAC address. What about the destination MAC? So in case of like virtual IP or NAT IP or IP used in the NAT policy, not assigned basically to the gateway, and in this lab diagram we are using 109 as the NAT IP, and NAT IP is basically not assigned to the interface, it's just a virtual IP, right? So if R1 sends R broadcast that who is 172.16.1.109 tell MAC, because without obtaining MAC address of NAT IP, packet cannot be encapsulated, right? Now if security gateway is not acting as like a proxy ARP, proxy, I hope you understand, acting on behalf of other, right? So if proxy ARP is not by default enabled here, means gateway is not configured to reply on the behalf of, on the basis of other IPs or used IPs or NATed IPs, right? So obviously gateway will not reply to ARP message, because gateway IP address is 172.16.101. So gateway knows like my IP address is 101, I am not 109, even though 109 has been used in the NAT configuration, but still gateway will not reply on basis of 109. As a result, R1 doesn't get destination MAC address, doesn't get ARP reply response message, right? Means what? Packet is never encapsulated, never sent to the gateway, and that is the reason we do not see, we do not find any log here, do not find traffic log, because packet is not sent basically, right? So first point here, why does this happen here, right? In checkpoint, so in checkpoint, whenever we do manual NAT configuration, manual static NAT. So proxy ARP configuration is not done automatically, right? Gateway doesn't like do automatic NAT configuration and all that. I'm sorry, ARP configuration, right? In checkpoint. Very specifically, I'm talking about checkpoint only. Forget about Palo Alto, FortiGate, and other firewalls. But whenever we do manual automatic NAT configuration, NAT rules are generated automatically, then gateway takes care of everything, routing, ARP configuration, everything. So we really don't care about ARP configuration. But whenever we create manual static NAT rule in checkpoint and we have used NAT IP that is not basically assigned to the gateway, right? Any other IP address, then yes, this may be a problematic. This may be a problem. But question here, if this is the case, I mean, like if gateway is not responding to ARP messages, so first, like how do we know, like that's the problem, because we don't see any traffic log here, right? So logs are not helpful here. But does that mean like there is no issue with the gateway? Because in firewalls, if there is no traffic log, not necessarily always means that packets are not dropped by the firewall. Even in Palo Alto firewall, in some other firewalls, even if there is no traffic log, there could be other reasons, right? Because if packets are dropped before hitting security rule, then we don't see any traffic log. Even in Palo Alto also, if packet is dropped because of routing issue, you don't find any traffic log, because routing is done before matching traffic or packet with the security policy, right? So we will have to understand sequence also. Sequence of events are like what happens first, because we see traffic log only if packet is matched with the security policy. And same here in checkpoint also. If problem is of ARP, then obviously we don't see any traffic log, right? And problem is only with the manual static NAT, not in automatic NAT rule. So how we can fix this and how we can find out, right? So the best method, the best way to identify problem in this scenarios or this type of scenario, better if we use command like TCPdump utility, right, to capture packet. So if we run the command TCPdump to capture packet, external interface, I mean ETS2, right, with the filter destination IP, and if we see like continuous ARP request message but no ARP reply, then yes, like we can easily like this way find the problem. The problem is with the ARP reply. And once problem is identified, we have determined problem is with the ARP, then what we can do? We can do manual ARP configuration, right? And nowadays in Gaia operating system, in like release R80 or R81, like we are using R81.20, right? Not the latest Gaia OS, because latest one is R82, but R82 is still not a stable version, still is not being used in production network, right? So still in production network, you will find either R81.10 or R81.20. R stands for release, right? So in R80 or R81 major release and .10, .20 are minor releases. So even ARP configuration can be done from the Gaia portal. We can access Gaia portal from the web UI and we can do ARP configuration, right? But what happens, and even in the like R65, R70, earlier versions of checkpoint, we used to create a file, in fact, firewall directory conf, and to this location a local.arp file. We generally create local.arp file with the help of any text editor like VEditor. So just creating local.arp file, and then here what we do, like we mention like NAT IP and mapped with the firewall interface MAC address, right? External interface MAC address. So IPs used in NAT mapped with firewall external interface MAC. IP to MAC address mapping, right? Configuration done manually to this file. A file is created and then we just put down IPs used in the NAT corresponding to a firewall external interface MAC, and then like enabling like one option from global properties that use or merge rather manual proxy ARP configuration. But in R80 or R81 or R81.20, even we can straight away open Gaia portal and we can enable proxy ARP from there. But eventually same would happen. I mean, like file will be created and we will see one like entry there, NAT IP mapped with external interface IP. Right? Let me show you like all this in action. That would be much more simple or easy to understand. Right? So let me show you like first TCPdump output, from where we can do manual proxy ARP configuration, and then after doing all this, we will again try to access DMG web server, and I hope you understand DMG web server real IP is 172.16.0.2. So objective is to access DMG web server with NAT IP, right? And ETS2 is external interface, right? And NAT IP is 109. Remember, 172.16.1.109. So we'll access DMG web server with external interface IP. All good? Good so far. I hope you understand the reason why we are unable to access DMG web server whenever we are doing manual static NAT configuration in checkpoint firewall. Right? I'm back, and let me SSH to the security gateway so that we can see output of TCPdump from expert mode, right? So expert mode means bash shell, Linux commands we run from here, TCPdump minus ETS minus I, interface name ETS2, and destination IP very specific 1.109, right? Hit down enter. So TCPdump command, and now let me access website and see side by side here, and you can see here continuous there is ARP request who has 172.16.109 tell this, right? But there is no response here. There is no response, only ARP request message, means gateway is not responding to ARP messages. And why it is so? And do we let me first go to firewall directory, fwd-dir. So working directory is firewall1, and then conf. And do we have any file with more local.arp? As so there is no file, right? Even there is no file here. So one option to fix the problem is we can create a file with the name local.arp using vEditor, and then doing mapping of what? NAT IP to firewall, means gateway interface MAC address, firewall external interface MAC address, means this one. So we can do manual entry, means NAT IP mapped with hardware address, MAC address of external interface, right? By default, IP address assigned to interface is mapped with the MAC address. So we can use another IP 109 map with the same MAC address, right? And even if I show you computer ARP table, then here as there is no MAC address corresponding to 109 IP address. Or if we do not want to do, we don't want to go that way, we don't want to create a file with the name local.arp. So alternative option is access your Gaia portal, right? Gateway directly, basically it's a Gaia portal, and network related configuration is always done from the Gaia portal. Smart console is mainly for what? For your security rules, NAT rules, threat prevention policy, logging, monitoring, reporting, tunneling, right? Not for network related configuration. So network related configuration is done always from the Gaia portal. And here if you look at the ARP option here, so static ARP, and we do have option to enable proxy ARP here, and there are multiple ways, and even changes to proxy ARP list will take effect on policy installation. And even just let me first show you this IP address. So NAT IP, that is 1 R81.20 and then interface, which interface? ETS2. So what will happen now? Local.r file will be created, IP address, NAT IP address will be automatically mapped with ETS2 MAC address. Good so far. So with this option, what will happen? Local.r file will be created and we'll see one entry there, IP, NAT IP mapped with interface MAC address. Even we can specify MAC address here, but no need to do that. Automatically ETS2 hardware address will be used to map this IP, right? But you can see message here like policy installation is required, yes. And not only the policy installation, also going to global properties option here, right? And by default manual proxy ARP configuration merging is not done, right, in checkpoint. So go to global properties and here you will see option merge manual proxy ARP configuration. Enable this. Done. OK. And then push policy to gateway from admin server. Policy installation, yes, is required here. So now changes will get reflected and yes, we want to push policy to security gateway 1. So once policy installation is successfully done, then what we'll see like gateway responding like with external interface MAC address against NAT IP. And of course a file is created, local.r file, entry is also created there, right? So let this policy installation be successful. In the meantime, let me quickly show you, and even done, policy installation is also done. And what about this file? More local.arp. And see here, this file was automatically generated. Do not edit. Please use Gaia portal or click command to configure our proxy. And already done here, IP address and then mapped with the MAC address. MAC address here, if you look at the MAC address is the same MAC address of ETS2 interface, right? So NAT IP is now mapped with interface MAC address. So no problem with proxy ARP configuration now. And again, if I run the command, same TCPdump command, right here, and try to access, and already access in fact, right? You can see here website is accessed, but still let me open incognito window and also deleting ARP configuration from my local computer, right? Because those devices also maintain what ARP table, right? You can see with ARP-A command. Now ARP-D, and here like 172.16.1.9, and side by side, let me open this. Yes, enter, and here is the page and what output we see here. Let me break this. So now I can see here a lot of messages, HTTP messages exchange back and forth between client and server, because now all good now. So now you can see like whole bunch of like messages exchange, and even we can see from here also, if we run the ARP-A, then we see here 109 and MAC address, right? Same MAC address as the gateway MAC address, nothing different. Also we can find now traffic log. We can go to policy section or maybe a traffic log section. Specific log means like select the rule and you will see just the latest or recent log, right? So now all good now. So what we conclude from the discussion, that in checkpoint firewall, if you are doing manual static NAT configuration, make sure that there is proper proxy ARP configuration. There is no issue of routing, because whenever we do automatic NAT rule configuration, then really we don't care about the routing, ARP and other configuration, all done automatically. But whenever we do manual static NAT policy configuration in checkpoint, then yes, like we would have to take care of routing and also ARP configuration. Good so far? Makes sense?